Video walk on a Coleman. Start in the back. You're pre-wired for a backup camera. Now this does not have a backup camera, but you are pre-wired for one. And then it does use power off those marker lights up there, so the running lights on your tow vehicle need to be on for your camera to work. You also have your water heater in the back as well. It's all set up for you to use it. The only thing you folks will have to do is put your plug in that goes in right here. Get it started by hand, and then 15/16 is the socket size. If you want to use a socket, I use a little short socket with an extension and a ratcheting wrench. They do make a tool you can buy for it as well. Once you get that plug in there, as soon as you hook up water, either from the city water or from the pump via the fresh tank, it'll start filling up. Once it's all filled up, you'll be able to kick it on, and you'll have hot water in half hour. Now, definitely recommend draining it after every trip. Before you pull that plug out to drain it, shut off all sources of water. Crack your pressure relief, open it up like that. Water's going to squirt out, that's fine. Once it stops squirting out, you can then snap that closed. Then you can take that plug out. If you neglect to do this first, all that pressure is coming out here, and you're going to get it all over your legs. And if you've been running your water heater, it's going to be hot water. You're going to be upset. You're going to be miserable. And you might even lose the cap because it'll go shooting out. So always relieve your pressure here first. And then besides that, definitely recommend cleaning in here and in here quite often. 4 times a year, every changing the season is when I clean mine. Make sure you do that often. If you don't clean in here, something in there could catch fire. That fire could lick up over here, hit this fuse, this thermal fuse right here, and render your water heater inoperable until it gets fixed. So just keep that in mind, that the longer you keep it clean, the longer it's going to last. Outdoor shower out back here, you do have hot and cold, and it's good for spraying your feet off. If you have pets or kids, you can spray them down. It's a little too low to take an actual shower out here. Cable inlet, so if you are going somewhere that provides cable, you can hook up a cable through there. City water connection, this is where you're going to hook your hose up to, and you'll be able to run all your water fixtures off of city water pressure. You won't need to use your pump. Then you have your dump area. You have 2 handles. Just make sure this cap gets put on for you folks. Always definitely recommend making sure these are closed all the way before you would take your cap off. And then I always do my black tank first. Let that get dumped all the way out, and then I do the gray tank. That'll flush out my black tank hose. That way when I pick it up to carry it, to put it in the bumper, which is where you can store your sewer hose, that's what it's designed for, you can take these caps off. This does not have a sewer hose, so that's a separate purchase. But that way when I carry it to put it in the bumper, it's not dripping in black tank water. Show cord, it's your show cord. This is as far out as it comes, and then you can see how long it is. You can see where it's plugged in over there. You want to make it look neat, like that. And then when you're ready to leave, all you do is just shove it back in there. Furnace, exhaust for your furnace. Just keep it clean in here. They do make screens for these. They don't recommend you run your furnace with those screens on, but they do make screens for them. Those are good for when you're storing it, keeping insects from building nests in there, or when you tow it down the road, it's going to keep like road debris from building up in there. So that's a good for that. But just like your water heater, I recommend 4 times a year making sure this is clean. Pass-through storage with some cranks. You have a backup crank. That long one over there is a manual backup crank for your stabilizer jacks. That short silver one is a manual backup for your power tongue jack. Lots of good information here. You have your VIN, your unloaded vehicle weight, your gross vehicle weight, cargo carrying capacity, and all this. Lots of good information. The most important one right there is 65 psi though. That's your tire pressure. They are at 65 now, so you'll be good to go. But before you take this on any trip, after you had to store it at home for a couple of weeks or whatnot, please do check your tire pressures. I recommend checking them before every trip. Dual 20-pound cylinders. They are filled. You don't got to worry about getting them filled. You got your regulator right here. This is your automatic changeover regulator. So you can see right here is how it says supply and it's pointing to this tank. It's going to pull from this tank first. Once this one is empty, this will automatically switch to pulling from this tank. If provided this tank were on. If this one were off and this one were empty, it'd just be off. But if this one were on, a little diaphragm in here will open up and it'll switch to pulling from this tank. However, this doesn't automatically rotate when it switches tanks. So keep that in mind, because you could be halfway through this tank, right? And then you come out here, see it's pointing here, and you know, oh, I must still be on this one. And the next thing you know, you're completely out of propane. That's why I always recommend having one on and one off. And when you realize you're out of propane, you come out here, turn this one off, turn this one on, manually switch this over. Now you know you're on this tank, and you have in the back of your head, it's time to get this one filled. And we do fill propane tanks here. Group 24 RV Marine grade battery, brand new battery. We never sell them with used batteries. Definitely recommend taking the battery out in the winter, storing it somewhere a lot warmer than being sat outside all winter long, basement, shed, garage, anything you have. And in the summer, I definitely recommend disconnecting the negative lead, the black one, off of your battery. That's going to keep anything from using voltage while you're away, any of your battery power while you're away. Power tongue jack with a light. Beats hand cranking every day of the week. This is what underneath here is where you put your backup crank for it in case the motor were to fail or power were to fail. 7-way. This gets hooked to the back of your truck. This is what will allow your trailer brakes and lights to work. Chains, cross them. Then you have your breakaway right here. This is hooked to a box tucked back in there. That oh, it's actually right here. You'll be able to see it right here. So keep in mind a little thing. If you see that pin unplugged, don't tow this, because you will just flat spot your tires. That's your breakaway. So if this would have come on a hook for your truck for any reason, that cable will be hooked up to your truck. It's going to pull that pin out of the box, activate the brakes on the trailer. So, it'll coming along right here. You're pre-wired for solar. You don't have solar, but you are pre-wired for it. All you have to do is buy the Furion solar charge kit, the panels and everything else you need, and all that will do is trickle charge your battery, so you could at least run your 12-volt appliances without having to worry about your battery dying. Other side of that compartment, and then right here, these are your stabilizer jacks. Before I go into demonstrating them, let you know these are not leveling jacks. They're not meant to level your unit. They're not meant to handle picking up the weight of the trailer. They're just meant to stabilize it. So if you want your camper to be level front to back, you're going to use your tongue jack. Raise and lower the tongue to get it level front to back. If you're super picky and you want it level side to side, as you're backing into your sight, figure out which is the low side, and then you back your tires onto some blocks. Once you did that, then you can run these jacks and just snug them to the ground. Sometimes you have to flip these pads because they get caught. So just flip them like that. Boom. Makes contact with the ground, you're good. Just snug it up. You're not going to try to pick up the weight of the trailer. There is a self-resetting breaker for each jack. So if you were to overextend it, it'll reset that breaker. But like I said, don't try to pick up the weight of the trailer. If the breaker were to not react in time, or you just keep trying to lift it even though it's tripping the breaker, you could bend the jacks, you could amp out the motor. Awning. This does definitely go out more than that, but there's a wall in the way. You will see a bare black metal tube with a white sticker, and then a flap will hang down. That's when you know it's all the way open. It doesn't stop automatically. You have to let off the switch when it's all the way open. Nor does it roll in by itself when it gets rainy. So that's something you have to look out for. Can't adjust it. Grab this large part right here. Pull down. It's a lot easier to do when the awning is all the way open. But what it'll do is you can raise and lower each corner. So if it's raining, you can have water pitch off to the corner, or you can lower both corners really far. If the sun's in your eyes, so kind of block some of that. If you had it rolled out during the windstorm and during a rainstorm and it starts getting real windy, real bad rain, roll your awning up. You don't want to risk the wind or ripping the fabric or bending an arm. And if you roll it in wet, as soon as you get the chance to, roll it back out to let the sun dry it, because you don't want it holding moisture either. Freshwater fill, this is where you're going to fill your onboard fresh tank. And then your drain for it should be right there. Outdoor power, it's GFCI protected. All your GFCIs are on the same circuit. If one will trip, they will all trip. But over here, if you're going to use the fan on your range hood, open this up so it actually has somewhere to vent to. When you travel, close it so you don't have to listen to it flapping. Fridge vent, just for airflow, keep it clean. Every once in a while, I recommend popping this off completely and cleaning back there as well. Outdoor kitchen area. Mini fridge works like a standard mini fridge. This will only work when you're plugged in, unlike your fridge on the inside, which will work off of propane as well. Outdoor grill, which you can lock open like that. Lift up. Instructions for everything there. All you do to light them is turn them on to high light and then light them manually. And then there should be, yep, there's a propane hose right here you have to take out. See it? And that gets hooked to that propane connect right there. And then you can see that valve. Open that up, you'll have flow of propane to there. And I definitely recommend strapping this closed, because even though there's a door here, you don't want this, as you turn, rub it bumping into that. And that's pretty much it for the outside. Come on into the inside. Turn the AC off because it's a little loud, so you folks can hear me. And then we'll cover this section right here. You got your panel right here. You can read battery, fresh, black, gray 1, ignore gray 2. They use these same panels for all different kinds of models. This one does not have a second gray tank. Then you have your controls for your water heater on gas. Water pump, that's if you're going to pull from your fresh tank, which is what I just showed you over there. Once you fill that, if you're going to use the water from that, run the pump. You don't need your pump if you're running city water. Exterior lights, which are awning lights. Interior lights, which is the main row of interior lights. And then your controls for your awning are right here. Like I said, it's not a one push, you have to hold it in. But we'll continue onward. Both sides of the bed have outlets and USB outlets, as well as underneath the bed over there. A light you can turn on and off. Above here, lights you can turn on and off. Storage underneath your bed. Spot to mount a TV here. That's where the backer is. If you're going to use a TV mount, I usually don't recommend using the screws that come with the mount because they're usually too long. And then you have spots to run your cables and whatnot from your TV to plug in right there. Right here, one of these is, let's see if I can figure out which one. One of these is antenna power. It's this one right here. That's your booster for your antenna. So if you're not hooked to cable and you have your TV hooked to this, you want to make sure that's on. If you're hooked to cable, turn it off. This one is Wi-Fi power. This does not have the WineGuard Wi-Fi thing on the roof yet. That's a separate purchase. If you choose to have us install it, that's what that'll be for. And then power for it, obviously. Coming along here, got a radio. It's a very simple radio. It's like an aftermarket car radio, basically.
So much energy.
Volume here.
And look great.
Presets, push and hold to save presets.
With hypnosis, create new
This cycles through modes, so Bluetooth, USB, auxiliary.
Online, interactive weight loss, or
Some of these aren't used. Band, this will allow you to choose between all your FMs and all your AMs.
In the comfort and safety of your own
Yeah,
home.
very simple. Volume knob, turn it down.
When you have frequent heartburn, antacid relief only lasts for a few hours.
And then this will allow you to choose your clock. You can change the time on that as well.
Before it begins.
Alright, and then push and hold. Oh, I hit clock on accident. Push and hold power, turns it off. Oop, and I push and hold, turns it off. There you go, it'll say goodbye. This table right here turns into a bed. Very simple to do. Lift the table up, pop them legs out underneath there, set them aside. Rest the table on these bumpers, and then use these back cushions to fill in that area. Thermostat for your furnace, super simple. All you do is Click that all the way over, and this is your temperature adjusting right there. Microwave, super simple. As long as you're plugged in, it's gonna work. Other than that, if you're not plugged in, microwave won't work. Same thing with all your 120 volt appliances. AC, super simple. If you turn it to the black, that's just the fan on the AC. The AC portion won't run. If you turn it on blue, it's gonna have the AC portion of it run. The compressor will kick on and all that. So you have different fan speeds for that, and then this is your temperature. It says optional heat. This does not have that option. This doesn't mean it's heat. This just means it's the warmest the AC will be. Cooktop right here, very simple to use. Turn this to the flame, twist this, she lights right up. All 3 burners work the same. Oven works a little bit differently. You turn that to the flame, push and hold. As you're pushing and holding that button, you're gonna twist your sparker, and you're gonna look down in here for that pilot to get lit. Once the pilot is lit, you can then turn this to your desired temperature. You're good to go. If you want to cook again in a few hours, if you turn it off but leave it on this flame, it shuts the burners off but leaves your pilot lit. Definitely recommend turning the pilot off before you're going to leave this trailer for more than half an hour or before you go to bed. So you turn it off just by turning the whole thing off. Fridge, very simple. You have one button, on or off. And its only mode is automatic. So it's going to automatically default to 110. So if you're plugged in, that's what it's going to use. But if someone were to trip over your show cord, accidentally unplug you, campground will lose power, whatnot, this will automatically switch to running off of propane for you. Now, these work as a different process than any normal fridge does. They work through what's called an absorption process. And what they do is it heats up ammonia, and it pulls heat out of the fridge. And in the absence of heat, there's cold. But that process takes a while. 8 to 10 hours actually to get this fridge to operating temperature. So if you have the ability to, please plug it in the night before, let it get cold. That way, even if it's a 45-minute trip, it's already somewhat cold. That way, when you get to where you go and plug it in, you can wait a few more hours, maybe 1 or 2 more hours for it to get back down to its temperature again. Yes. Then over here, breaker box. All your breakers for your 120 volt appliances. All your fuses for your 12 volt. Definitely recommend getting a box of spare fuses. They're all 15s, so recommend getting some of those just in case. Bunks. Top bunk has a 300-pound capacity. Each bunk has USBs and a light. USB and a light, which is nice. You know, kids gotta have their phones charged these days. Coming in through here. Bathroom, very simple. You have your light switch for your bathroom right here. Main resetting GFCI. So if any GFCI were to trip, this is the outlet you're going to come reset it on. There's one outside, I believe. There's one up underneath. The one on the counter by the kitchen. That's GFCI well. It'll have that sticker on it. That's how you know. Shower, very basic. Turn your knobs on. Pull this up. Now it's in shower mode. Definitely recommend having this open and your fan running when you're taking a shower. You don't want the moisture to stick on the walls. Give me a second. This little shower thing came undone. I'll fix that in a bit. Anyway, toilet. It's very simple. As long as you're pushing this pedal right here, it's going to keep flushing. Alright, that's pretty much it for the bathroom. There's a few more things we need to cover. I gotta find where one of them is. Well, here's one right here. Smoke alarm. Use your standard 9-volt battery, so when they start giving those annoying low voltage chirps, throw a new 9-volt in it. Should be good to go. Fire extinguisher right there. Just so you know where it is. Almost all travel trailers have it somewhere near the entry door. That's, I think, a law. You have to have it within so many feet of your entry door. Then over here, you have a carbon monoxide and propane gas alarm. So those that's hardwired to the 12-volt system, so there's no batteries you have to worry about changing. However, they still give you low voltage chirps. The only time it'll do that is if the battery up that I was showing you up front, up by the hitch, if that were to start dying, then that's when that'll start giving you some low voltage chirps. Alrighty then. Well, that concludes our video tour of your Coleman. I hope you folks found this video informative. Hope you folks enjoy using this trailer a lot. I like these bunkhouses a lot, so I hope you will. And until next time, goodbye.